Welcome to our next edition of our Foundation Speaker Series. I am Karen Musanti, and today I am excited to spend some time with a longtime friend of the organization and a personal friend of mine. And we won't talk about how long ago that has been, but I believe it's been over 20 years. We must have met when we were 5. But my guest today is Jodi Brandon. She is the president and owner of Jodi Brandon Editorial. She has been working with authors and business owners on their books and ebooks for over 22 years. She works with clients on one-to-one basis, taking them from the ideas of writing a book to actually getting the book done. While not teaching individuals how to navigate the book publishing world, you can find her on her deck reading, big surprise, traveling with her husband and going to wine tastings. Isn't that cute? And being the best aunt ever. And I must say, the best friend ever, the best daughter ever, the best wife ever. She's just the best ever. So hi, Jodi. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So full disclaimer, obviously, we've known each other for a while. So let's talk about your PFEW journey and how you learned about PFEW.
I came to PFEW in high school, so I originally learned about it from a friend. Another Karen Jodi connection. I grew up in Warren, Pennsylvania. I consider that my hometown, even though I moved a lot. But a lot of kids from Warren go to PFEW, or did in the 90s, because of that, the Betts Family Foundation.
Right.
Sent a lot of kids. And I was visiting Warren the summer after I moved away, and a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, had just gotten back from PFEW, and he was like, Jodi, you would love PFEW. You have to go. It's so fun. You'll learn so much. You'll meet so many great people, blah, blah, blah. So I went back to school, to my guidance counselor, and we did not at PFEW have the robust schools program that we have today.
Right.
Because nobody from my high school had ever gone to PFEW. My guidance counselor didn't know about it, so she, at my prompting, as I'm prone to do, I encouraged her along and followed up until she got me the information. I came to PFEW the next summer and loved it. My friend Bill was right. Bill from Warren was right. And I learned so much about myself, about business, about life, about goal setting, all of these things. And then I couldn't wait to get involved again, as an adult, as a volunteer. But I had moved to New York after college, and then my mom actually got involved through her job at the Chamber of Commerce and encouraged me to come back and volunteer with her, and then that was kind of the start of my community advisor journey.
When you were in high school and went to PFEW, did you have a passion? Did you kind of know what you were going to do when you were a big person, when you were an adult?
I thought that I did, but if you would have told me it looked like this, no way. I knew that I wanted to work in books. I knew I wanted to work in publishing and writing in that kind of field in some way.
Sure.
I didn't know. I had never made the connection before PFEW that that could be a business.
Wow.
And then I learned, the speakers talked to you about entrepreneurship and all these things. And then the light bulb kind of went off maybe I could actually do this and get paid. That would be
right. Right. So how did you choose which college you went to? Maybe it was based on where it was located or what kind of courses they offered. So how did you make that connection to go where you went?
I knew I wanted to study English and business. Okay. And I knew I wanted a smaller school. I would not have done well at a huge school. I would not have taken it as seriously as I needed to. Right. So I looked at schools with a good, small English program, but also a solid business program. And Elizabethtown College, kind of had both of those things. And I was just one of those lucky people when I went to visit. I really did have that experience a lot of people talk about where you felt like you were home.
Right.
And I felt that right away, so I knew that was
perfect.
a great spot.
Yeah. So after you went through college and graduated, did you go right into starting your own business, or were there some stepping stones that you had to take to actually do that?
I moved to New York right after college because that's, kind of it's the capital of the book publishing world, we call it. And I knew that I didn't have enough. There's no publishing degree. So my degrees are in business administration and professional writing. So I knew I needed to get some experience to kind of, before I started a business, proclaiming to be a professional editor, I figured maybe I should get some experience as an editor.
Sure. So what type of jobs did you do then when you were in New York?
Publishing is very like apprenticeship oriented, even today. I mean, you start as an editorial assistant no matter what, and you're, making copies and lunch reservations and that kind of stuff. And you hope that you get a great boss. You kind of get paired up with somebody and you're that person's assistant. And they, kind of control your destiny. And I got really, really lucky with my first boss, Betty, who really wanted me to learn the industry. And not, I mean, I still had to do all those other things, make a bunch of reservations and photocopies and everything, but she really taught me, and encouraged me when it was when I was ready to move up. You typically move on in publishing. You go somewhere to another publishing house. And a lot of editors try and hold their people because, they're good people.
Sure.
And she really encouraged me. She was like, no, you're ready. It's time for you to get some new experience. She knew that I wanted to start my own business eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And we were working on a specific type of books. And she's like, you can't just work on these books. You have to get, something else. So
sure. So you had a good mentor. I mean, that was important.
She was a great mentor. I mean, she's still a mentor to me today, which is, incredible.
So that would be a suggestion for any student who would be interested in going into publishing, is to find a good mentor who can
find a good mentor. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the publishing industry is very, very small. It seems huge, but it's very small.
Sure.
And people know people, and they can, if there's a specific type of book you like to work on or something like that, get yourself a great mentor and use them.
Right. How long would you say, from the time that you graduated, and you'll know, how long was it from the time you graduated from college until you actually started your own business?
It was a year and a half, and I know how long it was because I started it sooner than I might have otherwise, because my husband is from the New York area and he was transferred from that area down to the Philadelphia area, which is actually where I am from. Sure. But there's not a lot of publishing here. So it was kind of like...
Right. Okay. All right. So you started your own business and you're working out of your home, which is a whole nother conversation that we can have. But let's talk a little bit about your clientele. How do you get your clients? How many clients might you have? Because I know in writing a book, and because you have podcasts and you do lots of great things, and we'll be sharing that information with everybody later on. But it seems to me that the process of writing the book takes quite a bit of time and quite a bit of your time with your clients. So how do you build your clients, and how many clients might you have at a particular time?
It really depends on what stage they're in, and what they're hiring me for. I work with some people they come to me with a finished book and they just want to edit it.
Okay.
And then I work with people who come to me with an idea and want coaching, like long-term coaching.
So you've had people come to you with a book and you've had to say to them, this is terrible, you have to start over again.
I mean, I don't say it quite like that.
Okay.
I instead say, I have some suggestions that would make this more, publication ready.
Oh, okay. That's the terminology. Got it.
Yeah. Tact is important in the publishing world. So.
I am not a publisher.
So I would say, editing wise, I don't do a lot of the line editing anymore. I subcontract that out.
Okay.
And I focus more on the long term. Like I've learned that I really enjoy the coaching, which I never in a million years would have thought that I did. But I worked with a business coach who encouraged me to, she said to me one day, she said, you're the bridge between the entrepreneur business world and the publishing world.
Wow.
Entrepreneurs don't speak the language of book publishing. So you're that bridge. And I realized that she was right. And there was way more business that I could earn a lot more money doing. And I didn't think I would love it, but I love it. So I probably work with 6 to 8 people at a time doing that, depending on, where they are. And it's like I work with people for probably anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on.
Okay. And these people they're all over they could be all over the world. I mean, what we're doing, video conferencing and things like that, that's pretty much how you deal with every day.
Yeah. unless somebody happens to be in the Philly area, I live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, then, it's like a treat to meet them. But most of my business, is, I actually had a call yesterday with a client who's in New Zealand. I'm working with somebody in Germany who lives in Germany right now. And then, all the time zones. I use a scheduler, like an online scheduler because I'm not great at like time zone converting. So I spent like a couple months when I was first like doing international clients where I was like constantly showing up at the wrong time and like.
Sure. So that brings me, I guess, to another point for a young person who might be interested in this career. Tell me some of the qualities that, and maybe scheduling is not high on the list, but an organizational skills. But what are some of the qualities that a young person really should think about in themselves to make them a good publisher or somebody that would be good in your field?
You have to like to read. I mean, people tease me that like, oh, of course you've read that book. I mean, it's important to not just like to read, but I mean, to be well read. I mean, you kind of have to, that's how you know what the trends are. That's how I can say to somebody, no, you need to add more, you know, your book is just a memoir and you need to add some more personal development to that book or it's not going to sell well.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell well, then it's not serving your business and it's not, you know, meeting your goals. So you have to like to read. I mean, that sounds cliche, but it really is. It really is true.
Absolutely.
Attention to detail is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the big thing is when I was younger, I used to get so caught up in the tech stuff because I'm not tech savvy at all.
Right.
But I realized, you know, like you can get help with the things that are not in what I call like your zone of genius. Like the working with the words and the authors and the clients, that's my zone of genius. So my goal always is to get myself to a point where I can hire someone to take care of the other stuff and figure that stuff out for me. You know, like scheduling social media, the tech stuff, all of that. That's not the best use of, you know, you have to figure out what the best use of your time is.
Sure. So although you may be the only employee of your business, you subcontract out many other things that you just don't have time to do, or maybe that is not what your skill set is.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, and there's people who, I mean, if you would have told me like, oh no, there are people who love to set up like tech, like project management systems and stuff. I'm like, who is that person? Like that to me is mind boggling, but I'm sure that there's plenty of people who are like, oh, who wants to like look at words all day and help people fix their books? So it's just, you know, like what interests you and then figuring out a way to make that happen. I mean, I certainly couldn't hire subcontractors when I was first starting out. You know, it was me and my red editing pencil and a printed out manuscript all day, every day. Right.
Totally get it. So let's talk a little bit about working from home. Obviously, there's got to be challenges. You're married, you have family. So how do you go about organizing? Because I could find that it would be very easy for me to decide to go throw the laundry in or go, you know, grocery shopping or whatever. So how do you regiment yourself to stay connected with your clients and to make sure that you're focusing enough time on your work and not what your personal life is, since your office is in your home?
Right. I mean, that boundaries are huge, obviously, like with family or anybody else you're living with. It's important to set those boundaries. Some people, it's really hard to work from home, and I get that. I've just never been one of those people. For me, it came really natural. I think part of it probably is the nature of my work requires quiet.
Sure.
So when I was in an office, you know, like in an editorial bullpen with all of us, and, you know, so you're on the phone sometimes, like clarifying something, you're on the phone with the marketing department, like it's hard to concentrate when there's all that noise around you. So that made it easy for me. And also when I first started working from home, well, I mean, now I'm on my own, you know, pay salary. I'm on my own, you know, books now, but if I didn't work, I wasn't getting paid.
Sure.
You know, I was invoicing out by the project. So, I mean, that kind of, you know, that made it easy to sit down and get some work done.
Right.
And then, you know, you kind of get used to it and you figure out, you know, what the ebb and flow is going to be like for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, where, like, I mean, it's kind of that strengths and weaknesses thing again. For me, it works great to like batch my tasks. So I have a day where no calls can be scheduled this day. I'm just focused on, you know, like admin stuff, you know, reviewing the numbers, going over the metrics, working on marketing, you know, getting my receipts and everything to my bookkeeper. And then I'll have a day or two each week where it's client focused. And that's when all of my client calls are. And then hopefully it works out that the day after that is free so that I can then, you know, get feedback to all my clients from those client calls. So I try and have, you know, a client days, a marketing day, you know, a content day, where I'm recording, I don't record one podcast at a time, for example. The time it takes to, get everything set up and then do it, that doesn't make sense. It makes sense to do, 6 or 7 at a time. Same thing when I record videos for YouTube. I mean, to do,
Right.
To get everything set up and then just do one, that's a huge time waster. So,
Sure.
Grouping tasks like that, I think helps with efficiency for sure.
So one last question, what advice would you give to a high school student or a college student who thinks that they're interested in becoming a publisher? What bit of advice would you give to them at this stage of their life?
I would say to try and find a mentor of some kind. For sure, you will have local and regional publications somewhere near you, whether it's a newspaper, a magazine, maybe it's even a book publisher, who knows. Reach out to them and see if you can get an internship, an informational interview. When I was in college, the best thing I ever did, and it fell into my lap, I never would have thought to do this, but I worked for a summer for an author. A lot of college professors are authors.
Right.
And he was looking for an author's assistant, and he wanted to hire a student on campus. So he approached the English department, and the English, my advisor knew that would be something that I would enjoy, I would be good at, and it would be good experience for me. And so I spent a summer just interning as an author's assistant to an Amish expert, actually. And he was writing a book, actually, the summer I worked for him about called Amish Entrepreneurship.
Wow.
So yeah, and it just fell into my lap, but it ended up being great. And he's still also another mentor that I have. But if you can get any kind of experience, so many people want to work in book publishing that any kind of experience you can get beforehand to set you apart is huge.
Wow. Jodi, thank you. Thank you very much. Leading right into the mentorship, Jodi has been a mentor for our program for over 18 years. She has mentored hundreds of high school students through PFEW. So thank you for all that you've done for us. If anybody would like to reach out to Jodi and talk more about what she does, we will have her information available at the end of this session, and feel free to contact us or Jodi directly, and we'll make a nice mentorship connection. So again, Jodi, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Karen.